The movie starts with Humbert driving through the American countryside with a bobby pin and a gun stained with blood. He can't stop thinking about a young girl who goes by different names, but to him, she's always Lolita. He's crying, but he can't stop thinking about her. In his heart, she's the most important thing to him, the fire of his desires, and the biggest mistake he's ever made. He also links Lolita to a girl named Annabelle who died when they were teenagers. Despite the heartbreak of losing the girl he once loved, Humbert continues his quest to find a similar love as he grows older. He decides to become a teacher at an American college, and with a free summer before the fall semester starts, he plans to work on his textbook. When he arrives at his place, he's greeted warmly by Charlotte Haze, a widow. After getting a tour of her messy house, Charlotte takes him to the garden. This is where Humbert's attention is completely captured by Charlotte's daughter, Lolita, also known as Lo. She's lying on her stomach in the grass, reading a book, while a light drizzle falls around her. Lolita notices Humbert and smiles at him, showing her young age of 14. Despite Humbert's troubling nature, he is immediately charmed by Lolita and asks Charlotte about the cost of his room. As the days pass, Humbert quietly observes Lolita, who is deeply engrossed in her love for childlike activities like dancing and music. She seems completely disinterested in Humbert's presence, which leaves him with a sense of longing and sadness. From his room, Humbert can see the bathroom, and through that, he can catch glimpses of Lolita's bedroom. He spends his time secretly watching as Lolita's mother argues with her and as she moves about aimlessly. Deep down, Humbert secretly wishes for something unfortunate to happen, a disaster that would remove Charlotte and everyone else from their lives, allowing him to possess Lolita completely and without any obstacles. One day, while Humbert was studying in his room, Lo came in and wanted to get his attention in a playful way. She stood behind his desk, then surprised him by sitting on his lap and sticking her chewing gum on his notebook. At first, she gave him a challenging look and asked if she was getting a pimple on her face. Humbert felt really happy at her sweet gesture and told her she looked perfect to him. Humbert smiled with joy as Lo proudly showed her trembling chin. But their time together was suddenly interrupted when they heard Charlotte calling for Humbert to avoid getting caught. Humbert quickly took the gum from his notebook and started chewing it himself before Charlotte came into the room. Later, Charlotte told Lo to pack her things for camp and then boarding school. However, Lo strongly refuses to cooperate when Charlotte says that everyone, including Humbert, thinks it's a good idea. Lo gets angry, grabs her doll, and storms out of her room. As she passes Humbert, she intentionally hits his arm and calls him a traitor. When it's time to leave, Lo argues a lot with her mother on the way to the car. However, she gives their maid, Louise, a warm hug. Just as Lo is about to get into the car, she sees Humbert looking at her from a window. Ignoring her mother's annoyance, Lo runs back to their home, goes up the stairs, and jumps into Humbert's arms, hugging him tightly and sharing a gentle kiss. Shortly after, she returns to the car without saying anything, and they leave quickly. Humbert goes straight to Lo's room and hides in her closet. But when he hears Louise calling him, he quickly composes himself to meet her. Louise hands him a letter, and when he reads it, he's surprised. The letter is from Charlotte, confessing her love for him. She expresses her desire for him to leave when she comes back because if he stays, it would mean he's willing to be her husband and Lo's father. This last part deeply affects Humbert. On Lo's wall, there are various collages, including a magazine clipping with a father hugging his daughter and the letters HH inside a heart. This suggests that Lo longs for a father figure as well. After 2 weeks, Humbert and Charlotte get married, but Lo isn't there for the ceremony. Even though Charlotte is affectionate towards Humbert, he doesn't show much interest in her as their marriage goes on. Humbert avoids his husband duties by secretly giving Charlotte sleeping pills. One day, Humbert comes home and finds Charlotte crying. She found his diary where he wrote mean things about her, like calling her names such as a fat cow, old, stupid, and annoying. Charlotte gets really angry and hurt. She calls Humbert a terrible criminal and says she's leaving, taking their daughter with her. Humbert is shocked and doesn't know what to do. He tries to explain that the diary entries are just part of a novel he's writing, but Charlotte doesn't believe him. Humbert goes to make drinks, hoping to calm things down. When he comes back, he gets a phone call with the tragic news that Charlotte has been killed. She was hit by a car outside their home. A child gives Humbert some letters, saying that Charlotte was going to mail them before the accident. Humbert is confused but relieved that he doesn't have to pretend to mourn his wife's death. After some time, he packs Lo's things and goes to pick her up from camp. When she sees him, Lo greets him with a happy smile, calling him Dad. During their car ride, Lo asks about her mother's health, and Humbert answers uncertainly, mentioning that the doctors are unsure and suspect it might be something related to her abdomen. Lo changes her clothes in the back of the car, and Humbert, who has inappropriate thoughts, watches her using the rearview mirror. When Lo returns to the front seat, Humbert pulls her close and lovingly kisses her head, saying he missed her a lot. Lo responds by teasing him, mentioning his unfaithful behavior. She taunts him, saying it doesn't matter because he doesn't care about her anyway. Curious about why she thinks that, Humbert asks, and Lo points out that he hasn't kissed her yet. In response, Humbert pulls over, Lo climbs onto his lap, and they share a passionate kiss. They stop only when a police car pulls up beside them. The officer asks if they've seen a blue car, and Lo playfully responds while crawling over Humbert's lap. Awkwardly, the cop thanks them and drives away. Later, at the hotel where they've stopped, Humbert is busy talking to the front desk while Lo goes over to play with a dog. The dog's owner comments that his dog doesn't usually warm up to many people but seems to like Lo. Intrigued, Lo asks the man about the type of people the dog prefers. He responds that the dog likes kind people. Outside, Humbert happens to meet the man Lo was talking to earlier. In an attempt to deceive him, Humbert claims that Lo is his daughter. However, the man sees through the lie and asks about the following morning. Lo wakes Humbert up and excitedly tells him about all the secrets and experiences she had at camp. Humbert gathers the courage to ask if it's true that she did intimate things with someone named Charlie at camp. Lo playfully suggests that she might need to show him everything and starts teasingly untying Humbert's pajama bottoms while removing her braces. While on the road, Lo asks Humbert to take her to a gas station because she's feeling uncomfortable. Humbert looks worried, and she questions him about what he expected after what he had done. When they reach the gas station, Lo gets out of the car and asks Humbert for some change so she can call Charlotte at the hospital. Humbert refuses, and she demands to know why she can't contact her own mother. Humbert finally tells her the truth as they continue their journey across different parts of the United States. Later, Humbert and Lo find themselves in separate beds. Lo cries for her lost mother and seeks comfort in Humbert's arms. They eventually arrive at Beardsley College, where Humbert takes on a teaching role despite the challenges, dangers, and seemingly hopeless situation. Humbert considers it a paradise at Beardsley College, and he arranges for Lo to enroll in the progressive Beardsley Prep School. One afternoon, Lo tells Humbert that she wants to be in a school play, which he already knows. But Humbert says no to her request. Lo is determined to get her way, so she tries to seduce him, saying she has the right to be in the play if she wants. She also asks for more money and permission to join the play. During one of Lo's play rehearsals, Humbert sees a man named Claire Quilty. He remembers Quilty as the man they met at the hotel when they started their journey. To Humbert's surprise, Quilty is the playwright in charge of the play Lo is in. The relationship between Humbert and Lo becomes strained, and Humbert starts giving her things to try to make her happy. He becomes suspicious when he finds out that Lo has been skipping her piano lessons. When he asks her about it, she says she's been practicing for the play with her friend Mona in the park. Humbert doesn't believe her, and they have a big argument. He accuses Lo of trying to get away from him and demands that she give back the money he's been giving her. But she says she earned it. In a moment of anger, Humbert slaps her. Lo retaliates by accusing him of wanting to harm her, just like he did to her mother. Humbert pleads with her to stop, but she doesn't listen and keeps making accusations. Eventually, she screams and runs away from him. Humbert finds Lo in a pharmacy, where he notices her trying to hide the fact that she's making a phone call. She tells him she's been trying to reach him because she's made a decision. She wants to leave Beardsley and go on another journey, but this time she insists on choosing where they go. Humbert reluctantly agrees. Lo decides they need to reach a place called was within a week. When Humbert asks why, she says they must see ceremonial dances at the Magic Caves, and then 2 weeks and 4 days later, they have to be at an elephant stone to climb the Red Rock. Lo shows Humbert the map and expresses her excitement. While on the road, Humbert starts to feel like they're being followed. He asks Lo to write down the car's license plate and thinks a detective might be following them. Humbert's paranoia grows, making it hard for him to focus on driving. One day, he keeps looking over his shoulder, and they get a flat tire. As he goes to fix it, the car following them stops nearby. Humbert decides to confront the driver but realizes too late that Lo has taken control of the car and is driving away. He catches up to her because she wasn't driving too fast and tells her to use the handbrake. She sarcastically says he should be grateful since she prevented the car from rolling away. Back on the road, Humbert asks for the pad where Lo wrote down the car's license plate. To his dismay, he finds out she messed with the information she wrote. Frustrated and angry, he impulsively slaps her when she turns to face him. Filled with regret and guilt, Humbert immediately realizes his mistake and feels very sorry for what he did. Lo, who is hurt and upset, quickly gets out of the car and runs away in frustration. Humbert, feeling terrible and in a hurry, chases after her and sincerely apologizes for his behavior. They decide to spend the night at Crawford's Lake Point cottages. Humbert goes to the barber shop and hears on the radio that Quilty is not at the studio because he's in WASP. When he returns to their room, he finds Lo looking disheveled, with muddy feet and smeared lipstick. Thinking she's been out, Humbert accuses her, but she denies it, saying she just woke up. Overwhelmed by his emotions, he forcefully throws her onto the bed and begs her to tell him who she's been with. Taking advantage of the situation, he acts on his desires. But instead of giving answers, Lo responds with a smile, kisses, and giggles. Later that day, Lo becomes ill, and Humbert rushes her to the hospital. She is admitted and kept overnight. The doctor asks Humbert to leave to avoid catching the illness. The next day, Humbert calls the hospital to check on Lo's condition. The nurse tells him that she's feeling much better and that her uncle Gustav came and signed her out. Humbert is shocked to hear the name Quilty associated with Lo's departure and is filled with panic. Desperate to find Lo, Humbert rushes to the hospital. He goes to the room she was in before but finds it empty. The bed is neatly made, and the flowers he brought are in the trash. Fear and frustration overwhelm him. He loses control and attacks the doctor, trying to get answers. The hospital staff struggles to hold him back, and the police arrive. Humbert manages to calm down and apologizes before leaving. Humbert starts a determined search for Lo, going back to all the places they've been together. But he's always a step behind, not knowing who took her. His efforts don't lead to anything, and eventually, he gives up. He returns to Beardsley, feeling defeated, disappointed, and unsure. 3 years later, Humbert gets a letter from Lo. She tells him she's married now and expecting a child. She shares her difficulties and asks for money to support her new family. Humbert decides to visit her and finds that she's grown up and matured despite the time that has passed. She welcomes him warmly, and he notices she's pregnant. During their conversation, Humbert admits he's still trying to find the person who took her away. Lo assures him that her husband had nothing to do with it. Humbert insists on knowing the truth, and he's surprised when Lo reveals that it was Quilty who took her. She confesses that she loved Quilty a lot, saying he was the only man she really liked. Humbert asks her why, but she doesn't answer and goes to the kitchen. Humbert goes after her and asks where Quilty is. She tells him that Quilty was known for being interested in young girls and filming them in his big house. When Lo said she didn't want to be involved with Quilty and only wanted to be with Humbert, Quilty kicked her out. Humbert pleads with Lo to come with him again, but she thinks he's offering money for something inappropriate at a motel. Humbert explains that she'll get the money no matter what she decides. Humbert leaves, but before they say goodbye, he asks Lo if she'll ever forget what he did to her. Instead of answering directly, she focuses on her dog as a way to say goodbye to Humbert without addressing his question. Humbert goes to Quilty's big house and confronts him angrily. Humbert ends up killing Quilty. Later, there's a scene where Humbert drives dangerously while the police chase him because they're after him for Quilty's murder. Eventually, the police catch up with Humbert, arrest him, and send him to prison. Sadly, Humbert dies in prison in November, and Lo passes away the next month due to complications from childbirth.